The courtroom was packed that Tuesday morning. I could feel Karen Whitfield's smug satisfaction radiating from across the aisle. She sat there in her power suit, whispering to her lawyer, Bradley Cooper, like she'd already won. The judge called the case to order and asked if I had legal representation. I stood slowly, adjusting my tie. Your Honor, I'll be representing myself. Bradley Cooper actually smirked. Karen's lips curled. They thought they were about to steamroll a stubborn old rancher. Very well, the judge said. Please state your qualifications for the record. I cleared my throat. Thomas Mitchell. Retired attorney. 35 years with Mitchell & Associates, specialized in property law and civil litigation. Member of the State Bar since 1987. The smirk didn't just vanish from Cooper's face, it looked like it was physically erased. Karen's mouth fell open. They hadn't picked a fight with a rancher. They'd picked a fight with a shark. I'd retired to Cedar Ridge Ranch for the isolation. 100 acres of peace. No neighbors, no HOA, just me and my horses. My land was 2 miles away from the nearest subdivision, Willowbrook Estates. But then Karen got elected HOA president. She showed up at my gate in a white Lexus SUV, clipboard in hand.
I'm Karen Whitfield.
We're implementing a community trail system, and we need an easement through your property. Ma'am, this is private property, I said. It's not part of your HOA. She tapped a manicured nail on her clipboard. Mr. Mitchell, when a community decides something is for the greater good, individual holdouts can't block progress. I told her no. But Karen didn't take no for an answer. She sent letters. She filed fake code violations. She even organized community walks, where people would stare at my fence like I was an exhibit at the zoo. In April, Karen crossed the line. I found my padlock cut and trail markers hammered into my trees. So, I installed 4K security cameras. The footage was a masterpiece. At 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, there was Karen herself, bolt cutters in hand, snaking onto my property with 2 other board members. I let her do it. I wanted the evidence. Then, she did the one thing you should never do to a retired property lawyer. She sued me. She sued me for malicious obstruction of community resources. She asked for $50,000. I read the complaint twice, once to laugh, and once to start drafting my countersuit for trespass, harassment, and defamation. Karen had no idea she was about to become a case study in how not to practice law. Back in the courtroom, Bradley Cooper was all flash. He talked about innocent families and nature. He claimed the trails had existed for decades. When it was my turn, I laid out the original 1952 deed. I laid out the 2021 survey. I laid out 60 years of affidavits. Your Honor, at no time has an easement existed. At no time has this been part of an HOA. Then, I pulled out the manila folder. I handed the judge the stills of Karen with the bolt cutters. Is this you in these photographs, Ms. Whitfield? The judge asked. Karen sputtered. That's out of context. The community needed those. So you admit to trespassing? I leaned in for the kill. Your Honor, I'd like to submit Defense Exhibit C. It was a recording of Karen telling a board member, I don't care if he owns it. We'll make his life hell until he gives in. The courtroom went dead silent. Karen's sharp intake of breath was the only sound. The judge didn't even need a recess. She systematically dismantled Karen's life for the next 20 minutes. Summary judgment was granted in my favor on all counts. Karen was ordered to pay $15,000 in damages and my legal fees, which I billed at my full retired rate. She was hit with a permanent restraining order. 500 feet from my property line, forever. But the judge wasn't done. Ms. Whitfield, your behavior is appalling. I'm forwarding this to the district attorney for criminal trespass charges. Karen wailed, but I was trying to help the community. The judge's response was ice. No, Ms. Whitfield. You were trying to be a bully. There's a difference. The fallout was spectacular. Karen was removed from the board and banned for life. She pleaded guilty to misdemeanor trespass. 12 months probation. 500 hours of community service, none of which involved clipboards. 6 months later, I was the keynote speaker at the state law school. My topic? When Karen's Attack, a case study in HOA overreach. The video went viral. Karen's legacy isn't a trail system, it's a cautionary tale taught to every law student in the state. She sold her house at a massive loss and moved 3 states away. I took the $20,000 she paid me and donated it to a legal aid society that fights HOA abuse. They named their new meeting space the Whitfield Warning Room. I think the irony would have killed her. Now, when I sit on my porch at Cedar Ridge, the only sound I hear is the wind through the trees and the quiet clip-clop of my horses. No white SUVs.
No bolt cutters.
Just 100 acres of hard-earned, legally protected peace.